Hey everyone, it's Mariana, and I'm back with another Game of Thrones episode recap and review. I have to say, I actually really liked this episode, even though it was on the shorter side by Game of Thrones standards at least. But apparently, the last three episodes are going to be 59, 60, and 69 minutes, so it's going to get crazy. As always, these recaps are full of spoilers, so make sure you're caught up on the show before watching the rest of this video. So Season 6, Episode 7, The Broken Man dropped one of its biggest bombs before the opening credits even started, because guess what? The Hound is back. I think between the title of the episode, The Broken Man, and the fact that we never saw the Hound die at the end of Season 4, a lot of us had a feeling that he was going to come back at one point. He's back. Does that mean Clegane Bowl is officially confirmed? Possibly. I'll believe it when I see it, but the hype is definitely growing. The episode opens with this group of people we've never seen before, led by Ian McShane, who are building something, and there is the much more mellow Hound there chopping wood. It's not really surprising to see that he's a bit different considering everything that he's been through, but he does seem a bit more reserved than he normally is and a bit more kind of thoughtful in a way. He says, "You don't know the things I've done. If the gods are real, why haven't they punished me?" He's definitely feeling the weight of his past there. Later, Ian McShane has this inspirational speech about his own past and about how it's never too late to change and do good, and this clearly strikes a chord with the Hound. But of course, things don't stay good for long. Three men from the Brotherhood show up, and they end up slaughtering everybody except for the Hound later, so by the end of the episode, we see him pick up an axe, which I think is a very clear sign of him returning to his former self. It's pretty sad if you think about it, because he was clearly considering changing his ways and turning over a new leaf, but he realizes that it is not possible in the world that he lives in, Westeros. Though he's not likely to go back to serve the Lannisters or the king, he is definitely not done killing people. At King's Landing, born-again Marjorie is selling her religious act hard to the High Sparrow, and he actually gives her some really awkward sex advice, but also we learn that he is already eyeing another unrepentant sinner who needs to be set on the righteous path, and that is Lady Olenna. After that, Marjorie goes to see her grandmother to convince her to leave King's Landing, and at first, Lady Olenna is shocked by Marjorie's behavior. She cannot believe what she's saying, but before Marjorie leaves, she manages to pass Lady Olenna a piece of paper with a rose drawn on it, so she is clearly not broken by the High Sparrow. And as we all know, the rose is a sigil of House Tyrell, and their words are growing strong. I told you guys it's all an act. I'm surprised that some of you thought the High Sparrow actually broke her. Later, Cersei comes to see Lady Olenna to try to talk her into staying at King's Landing and to work together, but there is nothing she can say to the Queen of Thorns to get her on her side. "You've lost, Cersei. It's the only joy I can find in all this misery," she says. Cersei has no support, she has no allies, and the fact that she actually is admitting to being wrong in this scene just tells you how desperate she is. What is she going to do next? Burn the whole city down with wildfire? Who knows, but I do imagine that when Tommen dies, because that was the prophecy given by Maggie the Frog, and it seems like it's slowly coming true, she is going to lose it entirely. In the meantime, the Lannister army with Jaime and Bronn arrives at Riverrun. I have to say, I was so happy to see Bronn again, because I definitely missed him with his humor and his no bullshit attitude, and I loved it when Jaime tried to give him the Lannister speech and Bronn just cuts him off because he has heard it too many times at this point. The Freys try to threaten the Blackfish with killing Lord Edmure. One of them says, "Yield the castle or I will cut his throat," but the Blackfish is having none of it, and he says, "Go on then, cut his throat." A nice callback to the Red Wedding there, if you can even put the words nice and Red Wedding in one sentence. Shortly, Jaime takes over the Frey forces and asks for a parley with the Blackfish. I loved the exchange there because the Blackfish immediately asks him about Sansa and Arya and about fulfilling his oath, but of course Jaime doesn't have Sansa or Arya, and the Blackfish basically just lets him know right away that he is not afraid of him one bit. Brynden Tully is a tough dude. He is not afraid to die, and he kind of reminds me of Mance Rayder a bit, to be honest. He will not surrender, and as long as he's standing, the war is not over. I really enjoyed the dialogue in the scene between the two of them. I wanted to see you in person, get the measure of you. Now I have. I'm disappointed. They're definitely working on Jaime's storyline here, which seems to have gotten back to the books for the moment, and I do really hope they continue on this path because he is in dire need of some character development, and if they follow the books, it's gonna be really, really good. And judging by the preview, he is seeing Brienne next episode, so I cannot wait to see how that goes. In the north, Jon and Sansa have the tough job of convincing people to fight with them. They start with the wildlings, and with Tormund's help, they get the free folk on board along with 1-1. It's always good to see 1-1. Next, they go to Bear Island to talk to Lyanna Mormont, who was probably my favorite. This girl tells it how it is and gets right down to business. She would sort things out at King's Landing. Jon and Sansa try to ask her for the House Mormont allegiance and soldiers, but she is not convinced until the PR department in the face of Sir Davos steps in. They should just let him talk from now on because he knows what to say, and good news, House Mormont can give them 62 fighters. They may need a few more. We also see them visit House Glover, but here they're not as convincing, especially after Jon reveals that the army mostly consists of the wildlings. They do end up picking up some more men along the way, but we don't actually see them visit any more houses. But either way, their army is not big enough. It's not as big as they need it to be, and they are running out of time. So Sansa makes the decision to send a raven to, I'm assuming, Peter Baelish. She knows he has the Knights of the Vale under his control, and no matter how much she doesn't want his help, she knows she needs it. We are really getting closer to the Battle of the Bastards here, and I am seriously hoping to see Ramsay defeated and fed to Ghost. That would be fair. Next up, Theon and Yara somehow already made it to Volantis, although I guess this episode does cover quite a bit of time since we see Sansa and Jon traveling through the north, and then Jaime's army made it to Riverrun, so I guess it makes sense they made it to Volantis already. Yara gives Theon some tough love here. She wants the real Theon Greyjoy back. Fuck justice, we'll get revenge, she says, and she pretty much tells him that if he's so broken that there's no coming back, he should just end it, but otherwise he should get it together so they can go make the pact with the Dragon Queen and eventually take back the Iron Islands. This does seem a little bit harsh, but they are living in a harsh world and there is no room for Theon to be the broken man that he is right now, so he should get it together. And finally, when she asks him, "Are you with me?" he looks up and you can tell that he is going to give it his best shot. So I guess welcome back, Theon Greyjoy. I never really liked him, and I do kind of feel bad for him at this point, and he's doing a lot to redeem himself, but we'll see how it goes. I have to say though, Yara on the other hand is definitely growing on me, especially this season, and she is actually making me care about Greyjoys, which is pretty unheard of. I never actually disliked her, but she has definitely grown on me recently, and to me she's one of those characters who keep getting more interesting and stronger as the show goes on, so I'm kind of rooting for her at this point. Finally, at Braavos, Arya is moving on with her life, planning to get back to Westeros. All seems to be going well, which in Game of Thrones world means that everything is about to go to shit. So, as Arya is just standing on the bridge admiring the view, an old lady approaches her and stabs her repeatedly because it's actually the waif. Oh, I can't believe Arya wasn't more careful. So now she's just wandering the streets of Bravos, bleeding to death, and we're sitting here hoping she will somehow get saved. I know there are theories out there about it actually being Sexy Jesus who got stabbed while wearing Arya's face, because he did put on Arya's face before, if you remember, before Arya went blind, but I do think that it was actually Arya who got stabbed. I feel like logistically, even though they can change their faces, I don't think they can change their entire body, and Arya is way smaller than he is, but who knows. The next episode is titled No One, so we will definitely see where this is going, but I don't think Game of Thrones would actually drag this out over 2 episodes if she was about to die. So I think Arya is going to somehow make it. Someone is just going to have to give a girl a hand here, okay? But again, I thought that she was going to fight the waif and win, so it's not like I haven't been wrong before about this storyline. What I want to know is whether or not this was also some kind of test for the waif, because killing Arya seemed way too personal for her. She definitely enjoyed it, and I don't think that's the way of the Faceless Men. They're not supposed to feel very personal about the murders that they carry out. And I do think that she ignored the whole don't let her suffer part, because she twisted that knife when she stabbed her one of those times. So I wonder if the waif is going to have to pay for that one. Kind of hope she does. Overall, as I mentioned in the beginning, I really enjoyed this episode, and it actually felt like the episodes from earlier seasons of Game of Thrones for me. Maybe it's because we have some characters from those seasons showing back up, or maybe it's because of all of the callbacks to earlier episodes. Either way, it definitely worked for me. A lot of really interesting and important things happening, even though they are kind of on a smaller scale. They're not huge epic events. They are personal to the characters that they relate to. My favorite parts of the episode were, of course, the Blackfish and Lyanna Mormont. They were amazing, but I have to say every scene had something for me to love, so I'm a fan of this episode. I know I'm not usually the biggest fan of these kind of transitional episodes, but I felt like this one had a lot going on despite it not showing any kind of dragons or battles or anything like that. So can't wait for the final 3. It's going to be exciting. That's it for my recap and review of Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 7, The Broken Man. Let me know what was your favorite moment of the episode. I have a feeling it's going to be between the Blackfish and Lyanna Mormont, but if it's not one of those, if you liked something else, also definitely let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye!